Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of The Business Behind the Success. Today, we're going to be discussing entrepreneurship in the field of grooming. And we have with us Spencer Rodney, who is the owner of the RHouse Barber and Beauty. Hey, Spencer, how's it going?
I'm good, Dewan. Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Man, thank you. The pleasure is all mine. So, I know you're the owner and successful businessman and everything. But before we get started and start sharing the information or wealth of information that you have to share, please tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where are you from?
I actually grew up in a small town north of Lancaster called Rosamond. And I grew up there most of my life. We moved out there from Compton in 91. Moved there when I was 3, and I spent, uh, you know, 98% of my childhood there until I graduated. Once I graduated, I moved back out to Southern California, and I attended California State University of Fullerton, where I studied business with a minor in or emphasis in marketing.
Okay. What made you go into marketing? Just out of curiosity.
That's a funny question. I look back, I graduated in 2012, and looking back on it, I have no idea why. But I'm a believer, and I believe that God makes no mistakes, and there was a reason why I got into it. And to this day, as an entrepreneur, marketing is probably one of the most vital things that any entrepreneur could need or use.
Absolutely. And so before you owned your own beauty and barbershop, you were a barber, right? So how did you get started into that?
So the interesting thing is when I was in high school, I had picked up the hobby. At that time, it was just a hobby. I was cutting just some of the kids in the neighborhood at the time. And when I graduated and got to my first year of college at Fullerton, remembered that I liked it. And my mom, she had suggested, like, well, hey, like, while you're working on your undergrad, why don't you go to barber school and maybe get your barber's license just to have just something else to fall back on, or just something else that you can do to bring another source of income in.
Mm-hmm.
So my sophomore year of college was probably my hardest year because I was enrolled full time at Cal State Fullerton, and I was enrolled full time as a to become a barber in barber school. So I was stretched to the max. So usually my typical schedule was from about 7 a.m. till about 1 p.m. with my degree, and then from about 1 to 2 p.m. till about 8 or 9 p.m. At barber school, and then I had another job, another side job, so I could pay for the school while I was in it.
Wow, that's a lot. I don't know how you pulled that off. So how long did it take you, first of all, for the individuals that's looking to obtain their license? How did you go about that process, and how long were you in school before you received your license?
Well, it's changed so much. I got my license 14 years ago. So
Mhm.
so much has changed with the state, with regulations, with hours, with how you can sign up for school, how long you have to be in school. So I don't want to give any like direct answer because at this point I'm still learning. I have 2 apprentice barbers that are with me right now, and I'm still going back to see what really needs to take place to get from point A to point B. But when I was going, school consisted of about maybe 1.5 to 2 years.
Mhm.
It was 1,500 hours of coursework,
Wow.
and then you would go test with the state of California to be a licensed professional in California as a barber.
Did you mess anybody up along the way when
Oh
when
man,
you were
the
practicing?
craziest. Oh man, the craziest story. My first day, I went to a pretty interesting barber school. I'll say that. But the barber instructor just told me to go out there and start cutting hair, and I'm sitting thinking like, bro, I don't even have any clippers. I don't know what I'm doing. What's going on? Why would you send me out here to the wolves like that? So on my very first day, this gentleman came in and he seen me, and he happened to be an African American male, and
Yeah,
he saw me and he assumed that I knew exactly what I was doing because I was black.
yeah.
And I even suggested that he go sit in someone else's chair while he was in there because I said, brother, I do not know what I'm doing, and you are going to get your hair messed up.
You tried to
And
help them out.
so, man, I tried to help him out, and he proceeded to sit in my chair. That was probably the worst haircut I ever gave somebody in my life. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I just kind of shrugged my shoulders, like, I mean, I told you so.
So what did he just left? He just walked out or whatever.
I mean, it's a barber school, so they can't get
Yeah.
too mad. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a right when you walk up to the school, it says that these are students. We're learning. So
Mhm.
and haircuts were at the time I think were like $6. So he couldn't be that mad. But I don't know how he felt. I didn't care. I was like, hey man, I said I couldn't do it, but you asked anyway.
Right. So at some point you got good, right? And then you transition out of school, you received your license, and you transition out of school into working at a shop. What was that process like?
It was pretty easy because so I knew when I was in school, I met a lot of guys, maybe older, some younger, but some of them were finishing before I was finishing.
Mhm.
So in that, a lot of them opened up shops. So I had a lot of different opportunities to go to other people's barber shops. They had been out of school for maybe 6 to 7 months longer than I had. So as soon as I got my license, I was able to jump right into a shop because I was in school with the guy who had opened up that shop.
Okay. And what was that process like? Working there in terms of did you pretty much make your own schedule, or was it difficult to get clients, or how did you even go about building up your clientele and things like that?
I definitely want to pay homage to the shop that I first started at. The guy, the gentleman that I was underneath at the time, he really showed me how to go get it. You know what I mean? And he had none of us were really employees per se, but we were definitely underneath that name for that barbershop.
Right.
But he had a rule, and that rule was is like the more people you meet, the more people you're gonna cut.
Right.
And as a young barber, like I fully bought into that system because you got to remember this predates social media. This predates any type of internet marketing like that. This was back in 2008.
Right.
So I literally had to get some cards made. I went to Vistaprint. If you're a young entrepreneur, you remember going to Vistaprint, getting your first
Remember?
500 cards for free or $10 or something like that. I printed my cards out and I just went out to local schools, businesses. And at the time I was still in college. So I had a lot of people from school that I could kind of pull from and bring into the shop at the time.
Mhm. And then from there, you maybe transition to different shops and stuff like that. What were some of the, I know a little bit about you, so I know that you worked at a couple of different shops, at least two, right? What were some of the things that you liked working at the different shops that you worked with that you were able to pull from when you branched out on your own to create your own shop?
I took all the good and all the bad and I put it together and tried to make a business model that I felt would be conducive to success, right? I learned a lot from that. So the first shop that shop that I was referencing a few minutes ago, that
Mhm.
shop, I was actually there for 8 years and I actually had planned to be there. I didn't really, in my mind, I didn't perceive really leaving that shop. I was really close to the owner, and it seemed like we were going to continue to grow that shop. But,
Right.
in business, sometimes people have a difference of opinions and a different route to where they want to go. And I ended up parting ways. And I started I jumped to two other shops. But in those two other shops, that's when I started to learn the what not to do's in
Right.
regards to starting a business. Because the first shop I was at, it was running like a machine. It was hitting on every cylinder all year. When I got to the other two shops, it really taught me how to legally be prepared in regards to sanitation and your cleanliness for state board. It taught me how to set a real schedule. It taught me like the real logistics of how to be a business owner because at that point I was on my own. I didn't have anybody else to kind of shadow me in my growth as a business owner.
So if you were to give some advice to, up and coming business owners and stuff like that, what's some of the advice that you would offer them in terms of, opening up their own shop? Would you advise them to work under someone first or just jump immediately to owning their own? What type of recommendation would you have for them? And what are some of the things that they should look out for in order to avoid some of the pitfalls that you saw coming up?
I definitely will always think it's better, even at this stage in my life. I'm always looking for mentorship. I'm always looking to learn. I'm always looking to be under somebody who may know more than I know. And the reality of it is, if you're a barber and you're going to barber school, you need somebody to walk you through the steps, right? Because right out of barber school doesn't equate to opening up shop. Now, if you've been in the industry for a while, maybe you weren't licensed and you kind of have seen it, then maybe you can do it. But if you're a young barber and you want to be an entrepreneur, I definitely think working under somebody for, just a small period of time, just to see like, okay, how do I create a scheduling book?
Hmm.
How do I communicate with clients effectively? How do I bring new clients in? What is my marketing strategy? What's my business model look like? There's a lot of things that go into putting together something that looks good, right? And I know we live in a microwave society now with social media. And social media says like, hey, I got my license, let me open up a shop and let me post a whole bunch of pictures and make it look aesthetically good so people will come see me. But the issue is that there's so many things that go on behind the scenes to make sure that a business is operating at its full capacity. I think it's always good to not move forward, but slow down a little bit and go talk to somebody that may have done it before.
Hmm. And at some point, you decided to branch out on your own. What gave you that confidence? So, at what point did you feel like it was right, or how did you know? You know what? This is the right time. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go out on my own. I'm going to sign up for this particular lease space where I'm going to be on the hook to pay for this, and then I'm going to take a chance and bring in other barbers and beauticians and things like that, and I'm going to lease chairs out to them. At what point? How did you know that it was the right time to make that move?
Um, I think that's the interesting thing about entrepreneurship. I think
Mhm.
and then you don't know, right? I mean, to my knowledge, I thought I knew, but was I ready? Probably not.
Yeah.
So I think it really just boils down to taking leaps of faith and learning along the way, to be honest with you. And that's in any industry. I think if you ask any business owner, you can only prepare so much for what's to
Right.
come, and all the other stuff, you kind of just got to take it as it comes, learn, be prepared to fail, and dust the dust off, get back up and keep pushing.
So when you branched out on your own, what were some of the things that you didn't know? Because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So when you became an owner and you contracted with other barbers and beauticians, what were some of the things that you were unaware of?
I would say first and foremost is like the legality behind some of the stuff, right? Making sure you have your business license, your establishment license. You're covered with the city, you're covered, there's a lot of different things that when you look at a barbershop, right, you wouldn't even assume that any of that matters. You would just assume, hey, it's a shop, it's open, they cut hair, we're good to go. But how do I legally protect myself? Another one is, finding barbers.
Hmm.
Um, do you set a standard? Do you let anybody in? Do you have a certain type of barber? Like, how do you search for people to make your shop look like the business model that you had envisioned, or the vision that you had? So those are probably the two biggest ones in regards to just the whole process in itself, right? Because in regards to getting people, I know how to get people. It's not a easy thing, but it's not a difficult thing for me at this point in my career. But
Hmm.
those other two, um, the legal aspect with taxes, those
Yeah.
things take time. They take a
Right.
lot of time, and setting yourself up with people who really know how to dive into those things and approach those things. I always recommend getting help in those areas.
And circling back around to, you said that you want to make sure that you have your business license and stuff like that. What is that process like? So just for the viewers who are interested in, taking the same approach that you took, the first thing you want to do is go to barber school, or there's probably another name for, what's the name?
It's barber school. I mean, cosmetology school, barber school. It's one and the same. Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go to the barber cosmetology school, get your license, and then once you have your license, the next step would be to um, obtain your business license. If you wanted to go into business on your own, then the
Right.
next step would be to obtain your business license.
Yeah, that would be the most pertinent step,
Mhm.
because again, most people want to operate out of out of a some type of brick and mortar location. So
Right.
the reality of it is if the city walks in and you don't have a business license, they're going to confront you about it. That's just business anywhere, wherever you're operating.
Right. And how do you go about getting a business license? Do you go to the register recorder, or where do if I
Not
want
the
to get a
register
business?
order. You just usually go to your city hall. You know what I
Okay.
mean? grab the information that you need, fill out the appropriate paperwork. It's a simple application. You put the amount of employees you're going to have, you put your name, you put the address, the phone number, email, and that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple process just to make sure that you do it. And it is something that you have to renew every year.
Okay. And would you have employees, like let's say if you have someone working in your shop, right? Are they technically employees or are they more so contractors? And does that even matter in terms of having a business license?
Right. So it got trickier as the years have gone on. You know, some years ago when I got my license, it was as easy as, hey, you're basically a contractor. You just work in here under your own license
Mhm.
and you rent out a space. That's like has been the traditional way to operate a barbershop. Things have gotten more difficult because now they're looking for barbershop owners like myself to claim these people as employees for tax purposes
Yeah.
and for legal purposes and for workman's comp purposes. All these different things are coming out that we didn't have to deal with, let's say 5 to 10 years ago. Now they're present.
Mhm.
So the like I said, the approach I take with people that work with me, I do rent out spaces. I require people to get their own business license, even within my shop, just to cover ourselves legally as much as we possibly can if anybody ever wanted to say anything to us.
So when they receive their own business license, how does that work? Is that like is it like a contract? How does that work? And you know, why do you want them to have their own business license?
So at the time, I can't remember the technical term for the law, but again, the law in regards to our field, and it maybe it's changed. Again, it changes so much. You have to stay up to date with, and these are those types of things I was talking about with like the legal aspect things. You
Right.
got to keep up to speed because when things change, you know, the government institutions aren't looking for you to say, "Hey, I didn't know." They're just looking for you to be the business owner or entrepreneur that you are, again, in whatever industry you are, and stay up to date with code, regulation, and anything that needs to be done and reported. The reason why I had started to do it, and we're still in the process of getting some people's, because it's a new thing, right? This isn't something that's been going on. This is something that we're trying. It's basically just to say, like, hey, this covers me in regards to actually calling you an employee, right?
Mhm.
If they have a business license, then the state can't or the really the IRS can't say that they're my employee per se. You know what I
Right.
mean? And again, we're not trying to cheat the IRS. We're not trying to cut corners or anything like that. We're just making sure that we're taking the liability. I'm taking like the total liability away from covering this person when really they're their own business owner. They just rent a chair in my shop.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And touching on the point that you mentioned earlier, I don't know, definitely doesn't work for the government, right?
Right.
Because
You know what I'm
you
saying?
know,
Oh, I didn't know that was a law. Okay, well, this is what you owe now, or
yeah,
this is your fine, or now we need you to shut down. So it's always good to stay up to speed with legal matters and to just make sure that you're one step ahead of whatever decision that you're about to make, or whatever any other decision somebody else is about to make.
right. Cool, cool. So in terms of like, just the profession being lucrative, I don't know if a lot of individuals know how lucrative barbering and beauty, the barbering and beauty industry or grooming in general can be, right? So in terms of the amount of success and money a person can make for themselves. In addition, when a person has their own shop, they can lease out space and stuff like that to other individuals that can also assist them and supplement part of their income. And a lot of people don't necessarily know that, and I feel like it's grown over time, right? It's become more famous because of the social media age that we're in terms of you see different barbers going on, tour with um, celebrities and stuff like that, athletes, whatever, what have you, and they see how much money a person can make. I remember, I want to say it was maybe Steve Harvey, and I forget the exact amount he said that he was paying his barber every month, but it was a significant amount, right? It
Right.
was more than a person would make on an average job. And what are your thoughts on that in terms of like beforehand, a lot of the individuals didn't know. They looked at it like, okay, the person is cutting, they're not making much money and stuff like that. But nowadays, it's become a lot more lucrative than what it used to be. Could you speak to that a little bit?
I mean, I would say more power to anybody, however they're getting it in their respective manner. You know what I mean? Because, like you just said, there's different avenues to acquire funds in this industry, the grooming industry, right?
Right.
You have your day-to-day clients, you have your local neighborhood clients, you have your after-hours clients, you have your celebrity clients, your athletes, there's such a large spectrum of client now, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look back to traditional barbers, yes, celebrities did have barbers, but now we're looking at everything, like I said, on a spectrum now, right? You
Right.
have your $500 cuts, and now you have your, I mean, I think that the national average now may be like $30. Nobody's really going below like 25 now.
Right.
Just based off of inflation, just based off of time, the cost of living, everything has changed from 10 years ago to now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a very lucrative business. Everybody, it's one of those. When I was talking to one of my peers, just one of my colleagues actually, in regards to the industry, it's like it's the one industry that's never going to go away.
You're right about that.
It's recession proof.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only time that I seen it hit was during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason it was hit was because of the health aspect behind it, not
Yeah.
because of the financial aspect of it. Because even people was losing their jobs. They like, "Jay, I don't care. I still need to cut. Like whatever we
Yeah.
got to cut." So that was literally the first time that I had seen our industry take a real hit,
Mm-hmm.
because most of us had never not worked, regardless of whatever, the job market is, or like I said, the economy's doing. Everybody was always in the market for a haircut.
Right. And you know what? It's funny that you say that, because I remember when we were in the pandemic and we weren't supposed to go anywhere, and maybe a couple of times I tried to cut my own hair, and then I said, "Oh, okay, it's not going to work," So I started thinking like we might have to break some of these rules, stuff like that. We're
Right.
not supposed to be going to the barbershop, but I was like, okay, we got to figure something out, because this is not working.
Yeah.
But I'm with you 100% on that. What are your thoughts on? You have some individuals who they sometimes their target is to obtain a celebrity client or an athlete client, because they pay the inflated rates because of the contracts and the amount of money that they're making. Do you think that that's a good business practice to focus on those clients, or do you think it's more lucrative to have a steady clientele that's consistent?
I mean, I would say the latter, because that's how I built my business. You know what I mean? I feel like any business is built off of like consistency, right?
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that you can't do celebrities and be consistent. I know a lot of my personal friends who are barbers who consistently cut in that arena. But the issue is, to a new barber or a new business owner, it's like, just be careful, because yes, there are some people that break into that industry, or that's part of the spectrum, but then there's a large amount of people who don't. you
Right.
know and for me, I always wanted the consistent cash flow. I like to look at my books. I like to, I'm married, I have two children. I need to make sure the same amount of money relatively is coming in every single month. I don't have a whole lot of room for, well, hopefully I get this guy, or maybe if I cut this guy, then I'll get this guy. And again, I'm not, by no means is that any type of shade or knocking that approach, because it works. I know people who have made it work. Just for me personally, I like creating a solid book. With a solid book, you can build a solid business. When you create a solid business, you have solid financials. With solid financials, you can make different moves relative to goals. You know what I mean? Or you can make moves either faster and more efficiently relative to the goals that you have.
Right. And that's true. And and I'm aware of barbers who kind of throw the everyday customer, or maybe not the everyday customer, but the weekly customer, the bi-weekly customer, to the side whenever you have a celebrity or athlete come in town. It's like, oh, you know what, this person pays me $40-$50 a cut, but this person over here is going to pay me $150 a cut for me to go show up over here and cut them. But at the same time, you're probably only cutting. I mean, this is just me. I'm not in the industry, but you can tell me what you think. But from my perspective, it's like, hey, you cutting this person maybe 2-3 times a year when they come in town. They're
Right.
paying you a couple $100s, but how much money are you losing from ruining a relationship because you canceled on one particular person because they pay you a normal $40 to $50,
Yeah.
but to go over here and get 150 one time. I
Yeah.
mean, does that to me it doesn't make sense. I think you're losing in the long run. But I mean, what are your thoughts?
I mean, like I said, it's a catch. It's not a catch 22. It's a perspective thing, right?
Right,
Because you're right. This guy could come into town only once every, once 2 or 3 times a year. But on the other end, that person who is doing that, his perspective is well, if I live in LA and I have the Lakers, now I am making that income. You know what I'm saying? Or if I live in LA and I cut the LAFC, or you know what I'm saying? Like if your goal is to cut celebrities and your celebrities are in your area, then it works.
right,
It works perfectly. And not only does it work perfectly, just like my local group of clients has a network, now you have a celebrity network. So if you just an example, you cut LeBron James, now you're gonna cut the Lakers. And then from cutting the Lakers, you're gonna cut all their family. And then from cutting their family, you know what I'm saying? Like the ability to grow within that again arena is a lot faster if you can get into it in that manner. But I said the reality of it is I know some of the guys who cut some of those guys. It's very few of them. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, there's not 1,000 celebrity barbers.
Mhm.
Most of us know if you've been a barber and been in the industry for a minute, you know the barbers that cut the celebrities. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right,
In each respective state. So it's not like, okay, I'm gonna go to barber school and I'm gonna be the next celebrity barber. I mean, it could happen. It could be. But again, the reality of it is that there's already 5 celebrity barbers that cover, the music industry, athletes, and things like that. It's like, who's to say they're gonna let you in to be their next barber if they already have a network of barbers in there? You know what I'm saying?
right, right. And honestly, for me, I'm a numbers person, right? Because if you really think about it, you think about the NBA. What is the NBA? Maybe 400 to 450 players, maybe,
Rough.
right? And then maybe there's a couple thousand NFL players and stuff like that. And then you're talking about celebrities, probably even less, right? If we're talking about A-list actors and musicians and stuff like that. But when you think about the grand scope of the world, right? I don't know where we are now in terms of the population. I don't know if we're at 7 billion or 8 billion, but whatever the case, we're over 1 billion. So if you really think about, it's more regular people than there is
Oh,
celebrities,
for
right? So it's
sure.
like you're just playing a numbers game.
Yeah.
You're going to have more regular people come into a particular shop than you're going to have celebrities walk through the door. So for me, would I rather have and I think I'm saying the same thing you're saying, would I rather have a steady clientele in terms of, having a good price point where multiple people are coming through the door weekly,
Hmm.
or, you know, no disrespect to the celebrity barbers, but chase after a celebrity to move around when they move, and take that hit on spending time with family and stuff like that to make a little bit more, or maybe the same when it's all said and done. I don't know if that necessarily makes sense, but again, that's to me.
Yeah.
Um, but switching topics, how important is it to have an LLC, or to be incorporated when you have your own business?
I mean, I just think it's super important. I just think it speaks to the goal, right? What's the goal? The goal is to be something big.
Mhm.
In my opinion, that's how when I looked at the LLC, and now that I kind of fully understand what it is, um, it doesn't. Well, no, I don't say it doesn't. It's a great step, but it's one of those steps that can get you to the next step, right?
Mhm.
And that's why it's so near and dear to my heart. It makes it official, right? Because
Mhm.
there's a difference between the guy who cuts hair and the guy who's a licensed barber. There's a difference between the guy who um cuts hair at a shop or who has an LLC. You know what I'm saying? Like there's things that distinctively separate you from people. And some of those things can help with like business loans,
Right.
getting grants, getting access to financial needs that you may not get if you didn't have one. You know what I mean? I remember during the pandemic, I was able, by the grace of God, to get a few loans and grants because I was in position, and being in position is being legally in position to
Right.
receive them.
Right.
Because if I was just, you're just a barber, right? If I was to apply for some of the different grants that they had, they said, well, can you please provide your EIN?
Right.
And let's say I never took it serious and never did it. I'm like, man, I could have missed out on, one of the grants I got was for, I went like 5,000, or two grants were for $5,000. That's $10,000
Yeah.
of money that I could use towards improvements, towards marketing, to all these different things. And it's just like, you have to be careful as an entrepreneur to say, oh, I don't need to do that step, or that step's not that important, right? Because
Right.
the reality of it is, if you know somebody who's successful that has done that step, there must be some validity in that step.
Right. Right. And at the same time, what some individuals don't know is once you're incorporated and you have your LLC and you go through the process of opening up a bank account and getting your DUNS number and establishing business credit and things like that, you can also take some of the money that you're making in terms of income and pay it into deferred comp or some type of life insurance policy. Borrow the money from yourself, pay yourself back interest tax free, right? Of course. And then you can take that money and to invest into other areas, whether you want to invest into opening up other shops or you want to invest into some form of property. I'm sorry. Turo, put a bunch of cars.
Whatever.
It's one of those things where, hey, if you like driving cars and you like different type of cars, then why not acquire those cars that you like driving, rent them out, create an income stream off of those cars when you're not driving, because you can only drive one. Last I checked, you can only drive one car at a time.
Right.
So if you can you let the cars pay for themselves. Those are all things that you can do. But it also starts with, like you said, being ready to receive those things and making sure that your paperwork is straight.
Right. Being in position.
Right.
Entrepreneurship is about being in position.
Right.
Because opportunities come and they go, but those who are in position are ready to receive those opportunities. And again, just going back to the very beginning of the conversation, you don't know how your entrepreneurship journey is going to go.
Right.
Nobody can predict it. I mean, you could do everything in your power to make it as good as it is, but you just don't know. So, but what you can do is just make sure that you cover all, cross all your T's, dot all your I's, and make sure you're in position. So if opportunities present themselves and they are available, at least you've done your part to be ready for them.
Right. Right. So before we wrap up, please, share some advice with anyone who's looking to, follow into your footsteps and, have dreams and aspirations of owning their own shop and being able to contract out with other barbers and beauticians and stuff like that. What advice would you have for those individuals?
Be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Write everything down. Ask a lot of questions to people who have done it before. Really, really, really look into marketing. I think at this point in my career, I realized that marketing is important. And I want to learn even more because I see how vital it can be to and we're not just talking about success, because success is good. Like I would deem myself as successful, right? I have a business. I own a home. I'm able to provide for my family. Like I'm living a fairly successful life. But what does a business look like, and how do you position it to grow, right?
Right.
What do you need to do to make sure that one business is two, two is four, four is eight, eight is six? How do you do that? And I really encourage people to make sure that they spend some time on marketing, on how to help their business go from A to Z over some shorter periods of time. Because the more you know about marketing, the faster you can do it, and the sooner you can get it accomplished, and acquiring different sets of clientele over periods of time.
Right. Right. Thank you for that. And so if anybody's looking for a cut, they're looking for a fresh cut, how can they find you? How can they reach you?
So we have a website. It's welcome, the number two, RHouse, which is welcome to RHouse.com. And we have all the information on there. We have pricing on there. We have a map on there. You can book appointments online. We have a pretty self-explanatory system to get you in and out. We respect people's times. We have a nice shop. It's clean. It smells good. We got free water and other drinks available for you guys. So if you need a cut, you're in the area, feel free to come check us out. We'll take care
And
of
what
you.
and what other services do you offer besides, if for the ladies that's looking to do different things besides haircuts? You also have another segment of your shop as well. What other services do you offer?
Yeah, so a big aspect of my vision is to be able to have a one-stop shop. So we do have barbers, of course, that's like the main focus on our shop, but we do have a stylist who provides a large array of services. And we also have an esthetician. If some of you not sure what an esthetician is, estheticians focus on your facial care and hygiene with your face. So we try to accommodate everybody in every aspect of grooming need that they need. So again, if it's a facial, if it's braids, weaves, haircuts, dye, trims, we are here to take care of you.
You know what, Spencer? We need to get something similar to like a hammer and nails. Shout out to hammer and nails, right? But we need to
Right.
get something similar in there for some of the men that's looking to come in and get their feet done, get the pedicure and stuff like that. You got to have something for the fellas
Come
too.
I was just talking with my business partner, aka my wife, and we've really been trying to shoot to get a nail technician in there, because if we can get a nail technician in there, this is how, again, encouragement to all you entrepreneurs. The more you can think of how your business can be different or how it can accommodate a large market, we'll be able to really focus on possibly even franchising something like this, like a
Absolutely.
Hammer and Nails. I look up to that business. Shout out to Hammer and Nails, man. Like it's a full service, and that's kind of the vision I've had, is how can I serve a large group of people, and not just a large group of people, but men, women, children across the board. Because again, the larger your market, the larger your income. you know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so the more you can put in there to offer to somebody, so they don't have to go somewhere else, the stronger your business and more growth.
Right. And finally, before we wrap up, I was gonna say my goal. This is my goal right here. And I'm pretty sure some people out here that agree with me. So I'm take this and see what you can do with it. Right. So for me, ideal Saturday, I wake up, maybe go get a haircut, get my feet done, get the pedicure, and then maybe get a massage. Right. If
Okay.
I can, if I can do all of those things in the same vicinity, especially after a long week or long month, if it was a one-stop shop where I can go get all of those things done, you can have my money.
So we got almost two of the three. You can get your hair cut, and then the young lady um, who does the esthetician services in the shop, she does provide a shoulder, arm, neck massage. I believe that comes with the service. So like,
Okay.
we can find somebody who can do some feet. I mean, we'll be pretty tough.
There we go. There we go. Well, thank you for your time, Spencer. I really appreciate you.
I
I wish
appreciate
you, much success, much continued success to you and your wife. And please let us know if there's ever anything that we can do for you.
All right. I really appreciate you having me on here, and keep connecting people. Keep being a wealth of information for people, Dewan. You're doing something great here. And it's been an honor to be on here to speak with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, everybody. Again, it's been an honor to be on here to share what I do and what I love and my journey as a barber and an entrepreneur. So again, if you guys would like to come check us out, we are at 9339 Alondra Boulevard, Suite 2 in Bellflower, California. Zip code 90706. We are a full service barbershop and salon. We have barbers, we have stylists, we have an esthetician. So we are here. Whatever you need, if you want to come in on a Saturday, bring the whole family. We are here to service the entire family. So we appreciate you guys. Take care and God bless.
For more info about what we do, please visit dbinvestmentsco.com. We can be contacted at info@dbinvestmentsco.com. Once again, that's info@dbinvestmentsco.com. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of The Business Behind the Success. Our goal is to have informative conversations and share personal perspective with individuals who are successful in their field of expertise, in hopes that it will lead to more favorable outcomes for anyone seeking guidance. If you support the content, please hit subscribe.